Welcome, everyone, to this course. It's entitled How to Succeed by Studying Right at Any Grade Level. And this will prepare you for high school or college or med or law school or even a trade school because studying is a single methodology we each have to learn and we each are confronted with whenever we go to school or try to prepare for any kind of career. So it's something fundamental to all basically human industry that we want to study to know how to do something. And how do you do that? How do you study? That's what we're going to examine. All right. Well, what qualifies Doug to teach any of this stuff? So I'm an attorney. I graduated in 1981 from Southwestern University School of Law. I was on the dean's list, which means the top class percentages. I was in the top 2% of all the graduates of the school in 1981. I was the chief note and comment editor on Law Review, which is a position you're given due to scholastic achievement. Also, due to scholastic achievement, I was chosen to be a student clerk to Justice Clark E. Stevens in 1979 to 1980. The next year, my final year of law school, I was a student clerk to Judge Arthur Alarcon, Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal. 1981 to the present, I've been a civil trial attorney involved in copyright, trademark, entertainment law, insurance, bad faith, general civil law. I'm fluent in Spanish and Italian. I even have a TEFL certificate to teach English as a second language to people who speak Spanish. All right. So anyway, I hope that gives you a little idea that I at least have done well in my studies, but that also I think was only a product not of genius, but of just simply hard work, diligence, and learning how to study. I always was researching how to study, particularly as I was preparing to get into law school. I thought to myself, I have to really figure out how to do this because this seems like a really challenging or daunting task. And the fact that I did well is just only nothing to do with my brilliance that you might want to believe in yourself that that's what it was. It was just simply following good methodology, which is what I'm going to teach you. So when you hear the question of how to study, the first thing that should come to your mind is you have to be trained to do it in intervals. You study in intervals. That's the key to learning. Whether you're in graduate school or you're in high school or anywhere in between, interval training is what you have to do. So what do I mean by interval training? So interval training for study is one, you use time intervals for focused study sessions. So you set a certain particular time, let's say 50 minutes for study. I'll get into more detail what you have to do in addition. Then you're going to have mandatory rest periods that boost your memory and recall. Well, what's that about? That means you take about 10 minutes to rest, maybe put your head down on the desk, put a timer on, make sure it wakes you up at the right time so you don't oversleep or anything like that. And that's what's going to recharge you and get your mind focused on the task for the next session on another topic potentially. This will always boost your memory and recall. That resting period is key. If you just keep frazzling yourself out trying to memorize and put more things into your head and not taking the 10 minutes to stop, that's going to cause you to not learn. Next, how do we learn this? The Russians figured this out, but they taught this to us during the Olympic period in the 1970s and 80s about training for physical athletes to do amazing feats. That they were doing incredible uh, Olympic competition against our forces, our American athletes, but they were beating us terribly. But they were very friendly, and they told us how they did it: interval training. And so that got us to start thinking about, well, wait a minute. If interval training helps us to physically do better, what about study endurance? We'll get into that in a minute. So the key to it is you want to have short, fixed breaks that prevent your mind wandering and fatigue. So the whole point of a 50-minute study, intense study, and then with a 10-minute break and then a 5-minute rest doing, walking around and exercising or something like that, the whole point of it is to give you a focus. When that 50 minutes is going on, your mind knows it's not going to have to go past 50 minutes. It's not going to have to stretch out to 2 or 3 hours straight, continuous hard work. It's going to go, okay, I can put a burst of hard effort into the 50 minutes. That's exactly how the Russian athletes figured it out. If you can know that you have to use bursts of heavy energy, of heavy and intense energy, you will not end up having just mediocre results. You'll have superior results. Now, before I discuss interval training, I just want you to look at this picture. And so you already know what you need to do inside your unit where you're living, your bedroom, or your a little apartment or wherever you are trying to study, you have to see the difference between the left and the right picture, and you got to go, yeah, yeah. I'm most of the time I'm looking like the right picture guy, but I need to get to the left picture guy. And why is that? Because you have to avoid distractions and you have to be able to focus. And that 50 minutes that we're going to talk about in a second has to be very clear and not interrupted by all kinds of things that are going to distract you, or you want to play the CDs, or eat some pretzels and have some drinks on the table. So the guys on the right is just totally lost in this kind of confusion, and it's just not a good place for study. But the guy on the left has it all focused. He has some natural light. He has a desk that's clean and neat. He's going to make a better decision. He or she. This is by the way, these are principles that go for men and women. So everybody can follow the same rules and we're all going to produce the same results, superior results. So let's get back to interval training. Why were intervals the way to build endurance? Because when you push your body in one lap, let's say you have 8 laps you have to do around a track, and you push yourself to get one of those laps done at a high speed, then the next lap you take it slow and easy and you kind of recover. Then the next lap after that, you do accelerated speed and you end up building up a bigger and stronger endurance than if you just simply ran the same 8 laps in a standard speed, maybe even the same level of speed on average as if the guy who's doing the 1/8 of it at a time in a high level, one lap, and then the next is a slow lap, and the next is a high lap, and so on. So I learned this. I applied this when I was going to college. I was using the university pool. And actually, this was first used by the swimmers, the Russian swim team. This is how we saw them having exceptional results. And we're wondering, how are they doing this? Well, they train this way where they would do one lap really fast and one lap slow, one lap fast, one lap slow, swimming. So I started to do that. And I started realizing I'm really building up a lot more endurance, a lot more speed and strength over time. It takes time to build it up. There eventually, you can do much more than you could otherwise by interval training. And if you're curious about how this all came about and also learning the methodology the Russians shared with us, there's a book on it from 2008 called Secrets of Russian Sports Fitness and Training by Michael Yesis. I do want to emphasize the aspect that Mr. Yesis brought out in his book. He explained clearly that the Russians were teaching us techniques like extensive interval training that produced remarkable endurance results, like in swimming. Now, Andy Spencer in 2022, in a book called Effective Study Methods for Students, talks about spaced repetition is superior than trying to do these marathon studies. So he'll call it cramming is not the way to go. Massed practice, where you crunch it all in and you try to just have, with no stops, no breaks, you just cram everything you can in a certain period of time. He says that is less effective than distributed practice. So I'm suggesting we should be using distributed practice, the 50-minute rule I have, and 10 minutes of resting with your head on the table, and then 5 minutes of walking around and exercising. And so he's saying that the distribution of short sessions over several days with the same subject will be better than trying to cram it all in a particular time. Now, he has other recommendations that you do something similar where you have a lecture and then you immediately do a recollection of it. So there's intervals in the sense that you have the lecture, you do some review immediately thereafter, and then you come back to it at a subsequent time. That creates an interval of distance, and that interval of distance gives you an opportunity to now put it in deeper memory. So I came up with this system of 50 minutes of intense work followed by a 10-minute break. Now, I found out later that somebody came up with something similar called the Pomodoro method or technique, some Italian scholar, and it's 25 minutes of work followed by a 5-minute break. Well, if you multiply that by 2, it's 50 minutes of work and 10-minute break. So it's a similar idea. I think having too many breaks is not useful, but maybe it is. If you have to go for many days, this might maybe be a solution. But many times, I think it takes about 50 minutes to get your thoughts all collected. So I prefer 50 minutes. But you could do 25 and 5 if you want. It's the same difference, right? So whatever works for you. So you got to see what you can do. And maybe you start with 25 minutes on and 5 minutes off. Maybe that's easier to start with rather than 50 minutes on and 10 minutes off and resting. Here's another perfectly acceptable way to do this. It'd be 45 minutes on and 15 minutes off. That's easier to put into your Google Calendar. So just want to throw that out here. Is you, by the way, you could color code the work time on, whether it's contracts or torts or whatever the subject matter you're studying, or it's math and history, whatever it is. Always have that in the same color, but you put in the word of what's the name of the course. So I put in here contracts, and I put under 10 a.m. torts, and then under the 11:30 was civil procedure, just to show you what an attorney might say going to law school. So in this example, you would set at 8 a.m., you'd set the timer for 45 minutes, and it's going to time itself off and do a little ring at the end of that. You just press the top, you touch the very top here, and that's all you have to do, and it will turn the alarm off. Then you set another one for 10 minutes, and then you put your head down, you rest. Then when that's over, it'll ring again. You hit the button, and then you set it for 5 minutes and take a walk around the house, or go outside and get a little air, or whatever it is, or take care of other issues of food or such and such. So that is how you can stay disciplined using the timer to keep you on track with everything. And then, of course, mealtime is different, and that doesn't have timers necessary at all. But you then have to know to come back at 10 a.m. That's all. So basically, you can use a timer to control your entire day and keep you disciplined. Now, what I recommend is you can print in black and white from Google Calendar, or keep a manual calendar, whichever. But if you print it out from Google Calendar, it will look like it is exactly on the right. So this is printed out to show you what I just displayed in the color version from the screen version. But then this way you can see the start and the stop times, and you can basically cross it off as you go. And as things happen during the day, you can't always keep to your schedule, so you can readjust the time and just keep track of it here, instead of having always to go back to Google Calendar and put it there. So I would keep a side book, like a 3-ring binder or some sort of binder, to keep track of the schedules. And that way I would just put it to the past, and I'd move on each day, and then I'd have a new schedule page. And I'd like to have it on the desk so I could keep track of it that way as well. So I suggest you annotate your schedule as you go. And then you can also set a view in Google Calendar to give you the weekly schedule. So if you had an appointment in here for a class or something like that, it will show up, and that way you cannot miss classes as well. So the schedule is not the only thing you have to keep track of. You have to keep track of having to go to class. I wanted to also point out that even though I suggested here 40 to 50, 45 to 50 minutes is your work time, sometimes you can go longer, sometimes shorter. It depends upon how you're feeling. And then same thing with the rest period. You might want to do more than 10, 15 minutes. You might want to do 20, so on. But I do recommend putting your head down on the desk. That definitely gives you more time to think about what's going to happen in the future, meaning you're going to be doing switching to a new topic. So wherever you are now, let's say you're on math and you're going to switch to history, you're going to be winding down in your head as you're resting on the table the last thing you did, which was math. But then you know that history is coming up, so you're going to then reevaluate. Oh boy, what did we talk about last time in history? Very natural, and this is all ways of retreading the same path so that you can lay down tracks of memory. That's basically what it is. So again, I'm going to recommend having a 60-minute timer, and that's how you look it up on Amazon, 60-minute timer, and there's many options. I do recommend the one I have here on the left, the Yunba-o-ite. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's apparently Japanese. But what is, again, the benefits of interval fixed rest periods? That is, during the rest period, the mind naturally reviews what just was learned, meaning the 50 minutes of time, and then fixates on the next scheduled subject, even recalling what was the prior activity on the next scheduled topic. So let's say you had studied, I'm going to say history, the day before. Your mind is going to be thinking as you have your head down and thinking about just resting, but you know that history is coming up. You're going to go, oh, what did I study about history? And then you're going to be relaying down more tracks of memory. I just want to re-emphasize what this whole objective is, that your memory is improved and a very high level versus what it would ordinarily be if you're doing all cramming all the time. So here is that Yunbei Aoit, whatever that pronunciation is. It's called a 60-minute timer. See where it says here 60 minute timer. So this is the best way to find it. And then basically what I love about this is that this has a little alarm on the top of it, and I don't have to do anything but press my finger on it a little bit, and it goes off, turns itself off. And this one is discounted a little bit. It's usually $17.99. Now it's $14.99. I don't know what it'd be by the time you get there, but I definitely think it's going to help you if you want to do these rest periods and wake up and not be oversleeping and not going past where you want to get up